UFC Vegas 105 might have the worst color scheme I have seen the UFC put together for a poster yet, but it also has a very solid title eliminator main event and an overall very good fight card. My name is Angelo, this is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 105 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before we look forward, let's take a second and look back. Last night was UFC Mexico. Overall, a spectacular fight card for us. The picks were on fire, the bets were on fire, and everybody made a ton of money. In execution, though, it was a pretty exciting event overall. We had a lot of decisions, but a lot of them were wars. We had a couple of first-round knockouts, and this is what a regional show should be. UFC London was one of the biggest disappointments we have had this entire year. UFC Mexico, on the other hand, had a lot of back-and-forth fights, some excitement, a crowd that got behind their people, and it was a good card overall. If you want my full, raw reaction, I sat in this chair about 12 hours ago. Not even. What am I talking about? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I sat in this chair about 8 hours ago and filmed the recap. Check that out now. It is the Home Alone face. I know some of you hate that Home Alone face. It is what it is, okay? I'm not a graphic designer. You want a better thumbnail? Make a better thumbnail for me. And in that video, you'll see all the bets. Here's how we did at UFC Mexico. Overall, a very good night. I made money. BetSam made money. Jacob made money. 31% ROI combined. I had the best ROI, by the way. 31% ROI combined. 6.5 units out the door. Overall, a very good night. Safety parlay hit. BetSam's slam of the week hit, but those odds were adjusted because Joe Pyfer is a crybaby little bitch. Let me spend 5 seconds complaining about that nerd. Joe Pyfer's a guy that burst onto the scene, got a bunch of popularity quickly. Dana White liked him for whatever reason, and then he turned into this cocky asshole. He was just like this entitled shithead. Then he gets smoked by Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson, if you guys don't know, is a jiu-jitsu nerd, and he walked down Joe Pyfer, kept his hands in his face, made Joe look real stupid, like just real stupid. Then Joe takes a little time off, comes back, knocks out Marc-Andre Barol. Then he thinks he's on top of the world. He gets the Turkish touch-up, comes out here to Mexico, hair's looking thick, which, I'm not shitting on it for the Turkish touch-up. Go ahead and get it. Hair's looking thick. Feeling good about himself. I'm finally on his side. I hate that guy. Can't stand him. I'm finally on his side. Like, you know what? His best friend just won the biggest fight. He's looking good. He's probably feeling good. He comes out there. This is the best I've ever felt. And then he pulls out of the fight. What, for some diarrhea maybe? I don't know why he pulled out. I'm assuming it's diarrhea. Guess what? Loopy had diarrhea. She went out there. She fought. And then she diarrheaed after the fight. Like a regular person. Listen, bets did well at UFC Mexico. Joe Pyfer pulling out of that fight. Probably the best thing could have happened to some of the bets that we had on the board, because that guy's a fucking soft ass shit. Here's some of our community tickets. When we do well, the people reach out and say, thanks, guys. This one on the left is an email. There's an email from a gentleman named Johnny. I covered up his last name. It says, you guys are the best in the space of sports. I won big because of y'all. Definitely worth the membership. A member for life, and what he shared was $6,000 in winning tickets. In the middle, we got Stretch. Stretch is a good dude. Messages me all the time, but messages me like, words of encouragement, which sometimes you need. When you get thousands of people out for your throat because you got a pick wrong, a couple of normal people in the mix, pretty nice little change of pace. Stretch reaches out. He sends some positive feedback. He's always sharing his picks and his bets and things like that. Stretch, after last night's event, said, you guys killed it tonight. Shared a bunch of the tickets. The premium tools allowed me to build some loaded parlays and cash out. Never forget who the F you are, Uncle Ange. And sometimes I do forget who I am. Because I am 6'3", tan. These bright lights are hitting my face. You can't tell how tan I am. Tan, handsome, like quasi-jacked, not fat. And sometimes I forget that because I read the comments. And I know I shouldn't read the comments, but that's stupid. Anybody who says I don't read the comments is full of shit. You read the comments. How do you not? And then people are like, he deletes them. You're goddamn right. I delete some comments. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? People complaining that I'll delete nasty comments are clueless idiots. Imagine I came to your house and spray painted on your door, fat loser. Would you paint over it, or would you just leave it? There's your analogy. God, I nailed that. On the right, we got Odd His of the East. He tweeted out some tickets, $4,300 worth, UFC Mexico mission complete, tagged the We Want Picks boys. Then we have a whole bunch of other messages. Lennon sent us a bunch of tickets. That's the one in the bottom. And you can see, boom, $10, best money I ever spent. There's a theme here, right? It's not an accident. You don't accidentally put out the best tools on the planet. You don't accidentally build the best premium offer for freaking $10. That's not an accident. That's a very purposeful mission we've been on for the last couple of years, and we're executing on that mission. If you do want to check out all the picks, all the bets, all the tools, and everything that we offer, it's $10. 10. That's 2 5s. Your fat ass went to a Dunkin' Donuts this morning and you spent way more than $10. Now, if you spend $10 at WeWantPicks.com, you would have unlocked every single pick, bet, tool that we offer for a whole month. Not just one day, not just 7 minutes of a carb load, a whole month. One of the tools is the brand new optimizer. You saw those DraftKings tickets that I shared in that slide? A lot of those were, I can't say for a fact, I could be wrong, may have been built with the optimizer. The brand new optimizer not only builds lineups for you and does all the normal things, but it also has some new advanced features we didn't have before and a beginner mode. We are straight up on a mission to share everything that we offer, to share our love and our passion for this sport with everybody. We do 400,000 views a month, and that doesn't include Jacob hasn't done a live stream in forever. Those live streams add another 100,000 views. So we do 400,000 views a month. Not every single one of you knows everything that we can or can't do. Not every single one of you knows about DraftKings Fantasy or Prize Picks or all those things. So what we're trying to do is lower that barrier of entry and give everybody the same access to the things that we love. DraftKings Fantasy is so fun. I don't care if you're trying to chase a $100,000 payout or you're just having to have fun with the boys, build yourself a little league and compete with each other. Either way, DraftKings Fantasy is a ton of fun. The new optimizer will sort of help you along in building those lineups. And it's not just the expectation that you know everything, which is what every other optimizer on the planet does. We also have a new tool called the Fight Simulator. This is for the more advanced users, right? If you don't use this stuff type regularly, the Fight Simulator is more advanced. But the Fight Simulator takes every single fight on the card. It brings in historical DraftKings information. It'll bring in historical grappling and striking stats. And then it'll simulate those fights 100,000 times. And it spits out those. My mother was here all weekend. My mom's an immigrant. English is not her first language. I don't even know if it's her second language, and I'm not being sarcastic. And she leaves letters off words. She says things all fucked up. And then I spend time with her, and then I start talking fucked up. 100,000 time. Not times, time. Fight Simulator simulates fights. They're pretty fucking straightforward. If you like to do your own research, I'm not buying picks from the boys. Then buy the Research Hub. The data analyzer will give you everything you could ever want or need in one space on one webpage to do your own research. It has all historical data. It has future fights as well. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, you go to Tools in the menu, you click on Data Analyzer, you can pick what event you want to do your research for. Doesn't have to be UFC Vegas 105. It can be UFC 315. You can get that far out with every fighter on that card. You can deep dive their stacks. You can stack You can stack filters. And then you can even do your own tape study. The little plot point chart, hover over any of those buttons to get all the information, like who the judges were, what the scores were, what the outcome was, the time, all that crap. Click on it, boom, the fight pops up in your face, and you can watch the fight to do your own tape study and research. And we have an app as well. What you're looking at here is this is the normal, like we have an app slide. Go to the App Store, search We Want Picks. But this is an actual push notification that we sent yesterday that said Gastelum versus Pfeiffer is off. We sent this at 12:16 Central Time, 3 minutes after it was announced that fight was off. And we said, check your bets, adjust your DraftKings lineups, and get ready. And that push notification went to everybody. Premium members will get push notifications about bets, right? Premium members who want DraftKings notifications will get notifications about that. Everybody gets the, oh shit, some stuff happened, push notification. So download the app. I just got a DM on Discord. Hey, when's the Android app coming? Listen, we had an Android app. Right now, it is only iOS. We had an Android app for the poors, and we put that out there, and it was struggling. It had random bugs and issues, so we pulled it. We're working on it. I don't have a timeline for you. I'm not an app developer. We have a developer that has done our tools, like the optimizer, but I am not an app developer, and neither is he. So we use a company. We'll figure out the Android side of the things. For now, iOS app slaps. See, I can talk cool. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. Here are the events you'll have access to. And actually more than this. Whatever the one is after that one, you'll have as well. But you're going to get UFC Vegas 105. That's this weekend. You're going to get UFC 314, which right now is one of the best fight cards of the year. And I'm in a weird spot. I'm going to lower my voice so my wife doesn't hear me. UFC 314 also happens to be the same night as one of our good friends' birthday. And all of the families want to go to Fort Worth and watch a concert, stay overnight, get a hotel. But it's on the same night as UFC 314. And so I was like, Tiff, no. We have that on the family calendar for a reason. A, I want to watch the fights. B, it's work. Like, this is work at this point. Like, I can't just not do shit. So now what I'm doing is I was like, but if you really want to, we can. Hoping she'd be like, no, I get it. She was like, okay. I was like, fuck. And I can't put my foot down because Tiffany's an alpha. She runs this house. I don't run this house. And I'm in a weird spot with my family where I get labeled as you don't ever want to do anything. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to do anything. You just want to hang out with your friends or at the house. It's like, yeah, of course that's all I want to do. So now I'm in a weird spot where if I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, I can't. Then I'm just playing into the whole he never wants to leave, he's miserable. But I also don't want to go. So what I did early, don't tell her that this is what I did early was like, okay, let's get a sitter. We need an overnight sitter. And we've never left our kids with anybody overnight. Let's get an overnight sitter. Who do you trust? Thinking she wouldn't trust anybody. She found one that she trusts. That sucks. But she didn't book her. So now what I'm doing is I'm just not talking about it. I'm not bringing it up. I'm not talking about it. Just living my life so that maybe we forget and it's too late. We can't get a sitter and I get to stay home and watch the fights. It's not my fault. If that doesn't seem to be the path, I will encourage my children to lick the playground equipment and maybe one of them will get strep throat and then we got to stay home. So 314 is interesting. Hopefully I'm home. Get to watch it. If not, you're going to see a vlog of me at a hoedown watching these fights on my phone at a concert. That's the unfortunate reality of having a wife and kids. But the upside to that is I do love them, and they bring me joy and purpose. But like, fuck, they make life complicated. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. You're not just going to get this event. You'll get every event in a month. Every event in a month. All right, this is what we're going to do, guys. Start commenting below the dumbest shit you have bought for $10. Let's start doing that. The dumbest shit you bought for $10 that you could have spent premium on. Okay? WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member at the top. Here's the address if you want to send something for the vlog. I got a nice fat stack of letters next to me that we will be reading on that UFC 314 vlog. I also got some stuff coming from Hayabusa. I believe Young LA is sending some stuff as well. So that vlog mail day should be interesting. One of the letters is from, is it Dixie Normus or no, it's Haywood. I'm pausing. The first name is Haywood. The last name is Jablomi. Okay? I have no idea what's in that letter or in that envelope, but we will find out on the vlog. If you want to send something, I encourage you to not be a dweeb about it. The address is P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this card. That intro wasn't bad. 14 minutes. 14 minutes after a night that we had last night. I could have spent 14 minutes just talking about how well we did, bragging, scratching my own back. But I didn't do that. Also, if you whiny crybabies have an issue with how long this video is, A, don't care. B, watch Jacobs. Watch it. Sure, he doesn't pick fights as well as me because literally almost nobody does. But hey, this video is 9 minutes long. It's wildly entertaining, and he picks fights really, really well. So watch him. All right, don't come here bitching about how long my video is. This is my video in my house, and I'll spend as much time on it as I want. Opening up the UFC Vegas 105 fight card, we have Loma Lookboonmee taking on Istela Nunes. Loma Lookboonmee, tiny little thing, just a tiny little thing, but that doesn't stop her from being a Muay Thai bully. She's a great Muay Thai striker. She's very good with the volume. She's small. She is undersized for that division, but she does have some power. She's shown that she can be more than just a striker, though. She has out-wrestled a few opponents, like Sam Hughes, who we know is an absolute dog. Denise Gomes, Elise Reed. She has about 6 takedowns in those fights. While her takedowns have improved, and we've seen that evolution If she gets taken down, she's actually not great on her back and mostly in survival mode. She's coming off that pot shot win over Bruna Brazil, who is enormous compared to little baby Loma. And she made that 3 wins in a row. She's taking on Istela Nunes. Istela Nunes has the exact opposite. Instead of 3 wins in a row, she has 4 losses in a row. And the UFC probably going to cut her after this fight. She's having a little bit of a rough go at it. She has 11 MMA fights, but she also has an enormous amount of kickboxing experience. She's got solid power, pretty versatile striking offense. If you ignore her actual MMA record and you just watch her compete, you'll see that she's dangerous. She's pretty live in most fights. While her striking is dangerous, her grappling does need a lot of work. She's coming off that freak injury loss where she was taken down, braced herself wrong, and shit just exploded out the other side and popped in half. She was supposed to fight a few weeks ago, but she had some visa issues, so that fight got bumped. So when you see that was canceled, it wasn't an injury, it wasn't a weight cut, literally just a visa issue. Loma Lookboonmee has had a nice little evolution in the UFC. Started as a tiny little pure striker, but she's evolved into a tiny little mixed martial artist. She's got nasty striking, great speed, effective takedowns. I think Loma wins this fight. I think she wins every single, I think she outgrapples. I think she outstrikes. She's little itty bitty, but that hasn't been a problem for her in the past. So I think Loma absolutely runs here. She's minus 400, so 4-1 favorite. I mean, it is what it is. I think she's as close to a sure thing as you're going to get, especially in women's MMA. Then we have Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Talita Alencar. Listen, I'm about to break this down. I'm going to make my pick, and you're going to say I'm biased because of my past run-ins with Vanessa. We'll discuss that in a second. But also, I hate that her flag is Greece. I mean, I think she's America through and through. Like, I just sat here and told you my immigrant mother was visiting all weekend. I'm the first American in my family, the first one. Everybody else, the parents, everybody else born in Italy. Not me. First American. I lean into that shit. If people say, what are you? American. Right? That's who I am. And I'm about to start saying Texan, which doesn't really go with how I speak. But Vanessa's going the opposite direction. And I don't have a copy of her birth certificate, but pretty sure she's American through and through. But that's a Greek flag. Don't love that. Don't support your damn country. Anyway, we got Vanessa Demopoulos. Solid striker. She likes to fight inside the pocket. Doesn't have any real power, but she does have volume. She's got footwork. If it does get to the ground, Vanessa's got some decent grappling. She can make something happen. Takedown defense is not great at 27%, and it might actually get tested in this fight. She's coming off that submission loss to Jacqueline Amorim, where she told the referee, Jacqueline's grabbing inside the glove. Ref could not give a shit. Then she was submitted, and she was like, whoa, what? Like, I just told her she's grabbing in the glove. She did protest it after the fact. It was kind of a weird situation because when fighters start talking to the ref, you're always like, oh, here we go. But, I mean, it seemed pretty valid. It didn't seem like a just crybaby nonsense. She's taking on Talita Alencar. I cannot break her down without Talita. Dude, does Talita, maybe it's a common Brazilian or Portuguese name, but Talita sounds like your white trash cousin. Not even in a double wide, just a good standard trailer. Talita, get Talita out here with them boys. Anyway, Talita's an accomplished grappler. So sometimes, Vanessa just got submitted, but it's not that simple. She is an accomplished grappler. She has moved to MMA a little while ago. She will come out guns blazing. She'll chase the takedowns. She'll look to get it there immediately. Once she gets to the ground, she's very busy with the striking. She'll actually strike before looking for a submission. And even though she is an accomplished grappler, she's mostly looking for control. She's not chasing. Her takedowns are not great. She does rely on strength to get it there. Her striking is not very good either, and if she cannot get a takedown, she will always be at a disadvantage because she is small and she can't strike very well. This should be a Vanessa pick all day long. She's the more complete fighter of the two. Talita has proven to be pretty useless on the feet. She's small, she's ineffective, she is powerless, and even if she gets it to the ground, I don't think she's the killer that they tell us she is. When they start running through her accolades, you're like, oh my God. But we haven't seen that yet. Jacqueline Amorim, on the other hand, is a phenomenal grappler. We've seen her do quite well. I think Vanessa is a pretty straightforward pick here, and it's not just because I am strong and mighty and picked her up at UFC 303. It's because I think she can get it done. What I do want to point out, this picture, Jacob and I went to UFC 303. We were just hanging out in the lobby, and Vanessa's like, hey, can you pick me up? You look big and strong. So I said, no problem. And you can just, I would like to point out the gap between my hand and her thigh, okay? Not a creep, not a weirdo. I mean, that's it. That's it. Always a gentleman. Always. Then we have Victor Henry taking on Pedro Falcao. Victor Henry, yes, looks homeless. He's like a bigger Clay Guida back in the day. He fights kind of like that as well. He's a fun come-forward striker, wide variety of attacks. He plots forward. He uses head movement to avoid punches. He throws literally everything. At range, he's going to throw head kicks, but if he's inside the pocket, he'll throw elbows. He'll throw knees. He's got a ton of variety. He mixes it all together really nicely. He's getting up in there in age. He's not very young, but he hasn't really slowed down just yet. He is coming off that submission loss to Charles Jourdain, where the striking was not very good, but the takedowns were solid. He was able to mix it up. He's taking on Pedro Falcao. He's a grappler who looks to drag you to the ground and then work in a submission. He does have some power in his hands, and I think that he thinks he's a striker, but he's sloppy as shit. And the striking is really there just to set up takedowns. He's definitely a dangerous guy, but he's been pretty inactive. He's coming off that UFC loss where he stepped up on 3 days' notice, but did set a pretty nice pace for a guy on short notice. And I wanted to pick Pedro here. I'm doing the breakdown. Sometimes I just look at the names and I immediately in my head have my pick. But then obviously I got to go back. I got to look at the notes, got to do the write-up, got to watch the tape, and things evolve. I immediately was like, I'm going to go Pedro here. Victor's sloppy. He's getting older. And Pedro, yes, he didn't win that last fight, and there was a lot of holes and gaps, but that was 3 days' notice. So I wanted to go that route. And the logic was, if he looked okay on 3 days' notice, I imagine he's going to look really good with a full camp. The problem, though, is that Victor is pretty old, but he hasn't looked it. He's still got some juice left. He's moving forward. And we saw in his last fight, sure, the dude looks homeless, but we saw him get a bunch of takedowns and move forward. And I think that's what he can do here. I mean, Victor Henry does have a decent amount of UFC wins. And I think he can get the wrestling going. The takedown defense from Pedro is okay. I mean, I'm going to pick Victor here just for the fact that he is an established UFC guy at this point. We've seen him win fights. We've seen him win at a decent level. And while he's not amazing, he also doesn't suck in anything. Pedro's got a couple of gaps, not amazing at anything, hasn't proved himself at this level. So Victor Henry is going to be the pick, but Pedro might be one of the decent underdogs on this card, but we're gonna stick with what we've got going on. Then we got Rhys McKee. Poor bastard Rhys McKee. And I'll tell you why I feel bad for the guy in a second. Taking on Daniel Frunza. Rhys McKee, long striker, and he has had that rough stretch in the UFC. This is why I feel bad for the guy. Made his debut against Khamzat Chimaev, okay? Nobody knew who Khamzat was just yet. Rhys gets smoked. Literally lands 0 strikes. Just absolutely mollywopped and forever a highlight. Then he lost the decision to Alex Morono. Left the UFC for 3 years. Came back. Lost a decision to Angelo. Then just lost another decision to Chidi Njokuani. He just can't seem to get it done, and that sucks for him because he's not terrible. Style-wise, Rhys is a rangy striker. He has accuracy. He's got speed. He's got a little bit of power. He does a good job piecing you up at range and then rushing in when there's an opening. He typically does try to avoid grappling, but he did just spend 90% of his fight against Chidi Njokuani holding him against the cage. He's taking on Daniel Frunza. Daniel Frunza is a solid striker. He's got good pressure, good leg kicks. He bombs away on the feet. He continues marching forward no matter what is coming back his way. He keeps his power pretty late so he doesn't fade. He doesn't give up regardless of how fights are going. And while you don't really want to get into a firefight with him because of the power, because the strikes coming your way, you can take him down pretty easily. He's riding that 5-fight knockout streak into his UFC debut. And I came here expecting to rant and rave about how trash Rhys is, and Rhys isn't going to be able to get it done, and talk about how he doesn't belong in the UFC. He's proven that to us on multiple occasions. But then I did the tape study. You'll watch the film. I used the data analyzer to watch the film because why am I going to go searching for Rhys McKee fights when I can just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Tools, click Data Analyzer, and then boom, watch the tapes right there. So I'm doing that. I'm watching the tapes, and it's like, all right, Daniel hits like a freight train. Daniel's got a ton of finishes. And Daniel is dangerous pretty much every minute of every fight, but Rhys has a chin on him. We saw that in the last fight. Rhys has no problem being boring, which when you're fighting a guy as dangerous as Daniel, being boring is actually an asset because you can slow the pace down, wear on the arms, hold him against the cage, take away the explosiveness and the power. But then I just kept watching. And if this fight was not in Vegas, I actually would be like, you know what? I think Rhys can get it done. I would pick Rhys. Okay? If it was not in Vegas. Because in Las Vegas, the only thing these judges care about is who's trying to win the fight. And I get it. I've converted to that mindset. I've seen every single UFC event ever when it aired. My cousins had a D-scrambler. A, you watched the Spice Channel when nobody was around. B, we got every single fight. Back in the pay-per-view days. And not like on-demand pay-per-view, like the same video would just be on loop on the same channel. There was like 65 pay-per-view channels, and they would just loop, and you would buy a video and unlock the channel for like 4 hours. And the UFC would be live and then on loop over and over and over. And we would watch it. Very young kids, my cousins and I would watch UFC. I've seen every single one ever. So I have old school mentality when it comes to scoring fights. I think takedowns matter. I think control time matters. I think octagon control matters, meaning holding somebody against the cage, maintaining center, shooting some takedowns. If you're getting pieced up and you get 2 takedowns, I tend to lean the takedowns. 2024, 2025, that seemed to stop being a thing. And I have to get lectures from random anonymous people in the comment section with dumbass profile pictures and stupid ass names saying, the only thing that matters is damage. Bad take. A, fuck you. B, fine. If the one and only thing that matters nowadays is damage, that's the only thing anybody gives an absolute shit about. Maybe that's the rules, maybe it isn't. Then it's got to be Daniel Frunza as the pick, because Rhys isn't going to do any damage. Rhys could slow the pace. Rhys could hold Daniel against the cage for a good amount of time, maybe get a meaningless takedown, but he's not going to be the one doing the damage. He's not going to be the one moving forward, bombing away, trying to take somebody's head off. That will be Daniel. So if this goes to a decision, Daniel might squeak one out because of that pressure, because of the aggression. So I'm going to lean Daniel here, but I do think Rhys is a live dog, and I'm not betting on a UFC debut. The Daniels of the world, those are the UFC debuts getting smoked. The ones that are finishing everybody, then step up in competition, go onto a bigger stage. And I fully recognize Contender Series fights in the Apex, and this is in the Apex, but it's still a bigger stage when it's not Contender Series. Those are the ones that are getting smoked in 2025. Pick's going to be Daniel, probably not touching him with money. Then we have Dione Barbosa taking on Diana, I think it's Diana, whatever, Belbita. And this is another interesting lady fight to break down, because this is going to be another mollywhopping. And I know in women's MMA fights, I don't have stats in front of me, but if all you did was ever put plus 3.5 on the underdog, you'd probably be up money. You'd probably be up money on the year if that's the only thing you did, just blindly bet plus 3.5 on the underdog in every lady fight. But there's a couple of them on this card where that just would not be the case, because I think Dione Barbosa runs through Diana Belbita. I don't think it's competitive at all. I think she beats the absolute shit out of her, and I'll tell you why. Dione Barbosa is a solid grappler. She'll throw strikes. She'll look to get it to the ground. She is a judoka, so she has the judo background. Instead of shooting shots right up the middle, she'll tie up, she'll clinch, and she'll toss you. Her striking's not great, but it's fast, it's in your face, and it's enough to set up these takedowns. She's coming off that decision loss to Miranda Maverick, where she was taken down twice and she was controlled for 8 minutes, but she got a takedown of her own. And it's important to note that as a wrestler myself, who has competed for my entire life, coached forever, trained with a lot of judo black belts, wrestling will beat judo 99 out of 100 times. And if you're a judo black belt, come to Texas, let me know. I promise you I will take you down and you will not toss me. Not a doubt in my mind. So yeah, Dione was just taken down and controlled by a wrestler, because she couldn't get the tie-ups going. She couldn't get the tosses going because she was getting taken down. But I don't think it's going to matter in this fight. She's fighting Diana Belbita. High-pressure volume striker. She can have some BJJ on the ground, but nothing crazy. She's well-rounded, constantly moving forward, doesn't really slow down, can be effective in the clinch. She can strike standing. She'll work off her back. A lot of experience, zero power whatsoever, no danger whatsoever, some low fight IQ moments, and she was just submitted by Molly McCann. That should tell you everything you need to know. And here's the thing. Diana, so Belbita, is a decent striker. No power whatsoever, but she's fast, she's clean. She also does not care about her career. She doesn't give a shit about her career, so neither should we. She's been vocal about not caring if she wins or loses. She's seemingly just showing up for a paycheck. I genuinely think that she's surprised she wasn't cut after she lost to Molly. And then she woke up one day and was like, oh shit, I still have a UFC contract? Yeah, dude, I'll fight for 20 grand real quick. And that's it. And she's going to fight for 20 grand real quick. She's going to get smoked. I think she loses the striking exchanges, the grappling exchanges. I think she gets bullied. I think she just gets slapped around this entire fight. Dione Barbosa gets it done. Very confident in that. And we got a couple of ladies on this fight card that you can parlay, which is normally against most recommendations. But this does feel a little different. And I think these are two different women who take their careers very different directions right now. Then we got Jacob fighting Daniel Santos. Doofy, goofy, dopey, Davey Grant taking on Daniel Wily Cat Santos. And while Davey Grant looks like your weird neighbor that's going to knock on your door with a pamphlet, he is a fighter, and he's proven time and time again he's a pretty tough dude. He's a busy striker. He utilizes kicks for range. He punches with some decent damage. He's got some real power. A lot of people forget that he started his career as a grappler, and now he's evolved. He's an experienced grappler at heart, but he's gotten more comfortable with his hands. He's developed some power over time. He has his own striking style. It's awkward as shit, but he has his own striking style. With 13 fights under the UFC umbrella, he's built himself a nice little resume with some solid fight IQ. Even when he gets dropped, like he did in his last fight, he stays composed. He's able to work through it. He's coming off that win over Ramon Tavares, where even at 400 years old, with that smile, Davey Grant had great head movement and good volume. He's taking on Daniel Santos, old school shooter box guy. And we get the same thing. There is no fight camp that is more similar than shooter box, meaning not everybody at American Top Team is the same. Not everybody at American Kickboxing Academy is the same. Not everybody at every gym is exactly the same, but every single fighter at shooter box is exactly the same. They all look the same. They all fight the same. They all come out. Everything I'm about to say about Daniel Santos, copy paste to everybody other than Charles Oliveira, right? Charles Oliveira is the one exception because he got out of the middle of the pack, became a world champion, and he's a little more patient on the feet. Everybody else comes out, guns blazing, has explosive power, good speed, will chop the leg, get in your face, do all the things. Every single one of them. They all get dropped. They all have no striking defense whatsoever, and they all can be out-grappled. That's basically every single person. Good jiu-jitsu on the ground, aggressive striking on the feet, no striking defense, no takedown defense, and on the ground, they're throwing up crazy shit. They're working off their back, but that's it. That's every single person at Shooter Box. And I love Shooter Box. Listen, not only have I seen every UFC event ever, I watched every Pride event ever. The height of Shooter Box with Vanderlei Silva. And if you guys don't know the motion I'm doing right now, you're a fucking casual. People love to call me a casual, all sorts of other names. And I get it. And you're jealous of the height and just the overall thickness. But I promise you, I have dedicated 90% of my life giving a fuck about this sport and no other sport. You realize I got lots of friends. Very likable guy. And I've got kids and they made friends for me. But you realize we hang out with the neighbors. While they're all trying to watch real sports, I'm watching this. And anytime you meet a new person, right, there's always, what's the general chit chat for a couple of bros? Oh, the weather. And then sports. And sometimes some people are so awkward at having conversations that the general, like, hey, nice to meet you, sports questions are literally like a sitcom. You see the game last night? And every time I have to embarrassingly be like, I don't watch other sports. 99% of my sport watching is this. So when I pull out an old school Pride reference, like Vanderlei Silva, you say, good job, Ange. You do know this sport inside and out. Oh, you watched every single event ever and then became a fight manager and helped build some careers. And then you came in here and bestowed that knowledge upon us in these very entertaining videos with these unbelievable graphics. Thank you for your commitment to the sport and the people. Is that too much to ask? But no, I get a you're built like a turkey comment. The fuck is wrong with you people? Anyway, I'm going to pick Davey Grant. He's the type of guy. Davey Grant is the type of guy that wins fights but looks like he's losing. He's got awkward moments. He doesn't seem athletic. He genuinely looks pretty terrible in those fights. Santos, on the other hand, looks like a fighter, moves like a fighter, has that aura of a fighter, but looks can be deceiving. For example, you look at me, you see a hilarious 6-foot man with a hot wife. Turns out I'm 6'3", and the wife is mean as shit. And the point here is that Davey is an awkward weirdo at 40 years old, but he's our awkward weirdo. And I think he survives early, as he does in a lot of his fights. I think it's dicey early, and I think he can pull it off. I think Daniel Santos comes out hot. Davey's like, oh shit, he's falling down. He's flopping all over the place, but he's got the fight IQ. He gets Daniel to the cage. He slows the pace, grinds on him, wins round 2 and 3 after almost getting finished in the first round. I think Davey Grant can pull this off. I'm going to wait for all the prop bets. You know, I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat, and when they did my vasectomy, they pulled out a little too much. So now I don't full-blown bet underdogs. I did at UFC Mexico, and maybe I should do the more same because that worked out really well for me. So maybe I should do more of the same and just straight bet Davey Grant, but I'm probably going to wait for the prop bets and then make my decision because I do think he wins. I do think he pulls it off. And a lot of it just has to do with this, just the general defensive issues of the Shooter Box fight camp. Then we have Ode Osbourne taking on Luis Gurule. And this is going to be another interesting breakdown because Ode Osbourne is far better than his recent 1-4 record. And we have an undefeated Luis Gurule. And what's been happening to undefeated UFC debuts and even undefeated people in general in 2025? They've been losing. They've been losing as tremendous favorites. And we might get more of the same here. Luis Gurule is an interesting fighter to break down because he's light on his toes. He's got good pressure, good striker. He bounces around, then he'll leap in. He's aggressive on the feet and on the ground. He's got decent power. He's in good enough shape to push a pace for 15 full minutes, and he never takes a step backwards. He can grapple as well, solid top pressure. Submissions, mostly looking for bully takedowns, and then ground and pound. If he ends up being taken down, he does have a gas tank to work back up. But if you look at his record, it's a little bit hollow. So everything I just broke down is against people that he should have done that to. And now it's a giant step up because while Ode Osbourne has not had the most amount of success in the last couple of years, he is good and he is a UFC level guy. He's a southpaw striker. He uses range really well. He'll keep people at the end of his punches. He's got a ton of power, great finishing ability, especially at 125 pounds. He's got 5 wins in the UFC. He's got takedowns in 3 of them, but he is on this unfortunate 3-fight skid because the takedown defense has failed him. That most recent loss was to Lazy Boy Souza, who I picked and bet against last night at UFC Mexico. And it was a pretty typical Lazy Boy Souza fight. Ode Osbourne almost finished him early, and then Lazy Boy just continued moving forward, continued doing crazy shit. But I do think it was a bad decision. I thought Ode won that last fight. The reality is, Ode Osbourne is more than a 2-1 underdog here, and it is getting harder and harder to say that he should not be. He nearly won his last fight. He nearly won it by finish. He looked great, and his only real gap was the grappling. I do believe that the version of Ode that we saw at Noche UFC, the one that lost to Lazy Boy, would probably beat Luis. But I also think we're not going to get that version at this point. Coming off 3 losses, 4 of his last 5, I have to imagine Ode Osbourne's a bit dejected. I have to imagine he's feeling a little defeated. He knows he's on his way out. That's why they're feeding him a prospect. And listen, I'm going to go with Luis here because despite the experience gap, Ode hasn't closed his grappling gaps. And I think Luis can get the grappling going, just sort of bully Ode to the ground and take over from there. But I am not betting, and you shouldn't either, on Luis. When are we going to learn to leave these undefeated UFC debuts off the table? This is the exact type of fight that Ode is just going to win out of nowhere, and hundreds of people are going to be like, no, Luis just ruined my 39-leg parlay where I put 84 cents on. I'll never bet on this sport again. You bet 18 cents on 39 fighters to win. Yeah, dude, you lost your parlay. I know people love the long shots. I know it. And we started adding long shot parlays to premium because people love that shit. But they're long shots for a reason. Here's the stat. Let me bestow some knowledge upon you. 90% of sportsbook revenue comes from parlays. 90%. Now, I don't have the breakdown between long shot parlays and 2-leg parlays, but it comes from parlays. So as fun as it is to brag about a 10-leg parlay that you spend $5 and win 600, you will lose 90 some odd % of the time. And that $600 feels great until 3 months later when it's all gone because you kept chasing those ridiculous parlays. So do it. Have some fun. Have some fun. Place those long shot parlays. I'm not telling you not to do it. I am literally telling you not to do it. But what I am saying is you can't do a plus 1,800 parlay with Luis Gurule in it and then be shocked when he loses and complain the sport is rigged. That's on you. I'm going to pick Luis. Undefeated UFC debut. What could possibly go wrong? And what could go right, though, is I could send you $50. It's very simple. It's very simple. WeWantPicks.com/bets. You use the affiliate links. You sign up with any one of those partners. You make your deposit. You get 50. It's that simple. It's affiliate marketing. We're going to get paid. So we're going to slice off some of that and give it right back to you. Got to use this link and then the links on the page. That's how you get tied to our affiliate account. And that's how you go ahead and get yourself paid. After that, become a premium member. Actually, those two things are independent things. Become a premium member. You just saw what premium membership did for everybody at UFC Mexico. And it's not just copy-paste bets. I know the vast majority of people want to pay $10 for a month and then be like, what do you mean? I only made 3 units last night. I was supposed to be able to pay my mortgage with this. The reality is, we're going to give you every single one of our picks and bets. Me, Jacob, Bet Sam, Artem, and then an artificial intelligence. 5 different entities, the artificial intelligence isn't a person, worth of picks. Then you're going to get bets from those people. Then you're going to get round line leads, confidence plays, underdog fantasy entries, prize picks entries, DraftKings tools. You're going to get everything you could ever want or need heading into the weekend. And the tools are something I like to emphasize because I want to empower the people, teach a man to fish, teach a man to do some of his own research. Give a man the tools that he needs to build a winning DraftKings fantasy lineup, and the optimizer is one of those tools. This is a brand new optimizer that we coded from scratch. We're not leasing it. We're not borrowing it. This is ours that we coded from zero. And this optimizer not only has all the normal features you would expect, but nice new fancy features like minimum exposure or beginner mode, where if you don't know what you're looking at, it's okay. It's going to ask you some simple questions. Any fighters you don't like? Who are your 3 most confident fighters? Hey, which underdogs do you like most? You answer a few of those questions. Hey, guy, here's your lineups. Good luck. You're off to the races. We have another cool tool, the Fight Simulator. The Fight Simulator takes every single fight on the card, brings in historical information like grappling stats and striking stats. It simulates those fights 100,000 times, and then it uses those outputs to build DraftKings lineups to give you insights into the data and into the outputs. These are the tools that can help you make money. So you're going to get all the picks, all the bets, all the tools, the DraftKings optimize, everything for $10. I want you to comment the dumbest thing you have spent $10 on in the last week. Did it give you diarrhea? Did you use it for 5 minutes and then you were done? Did you unlock an OnlyFans video and then have all the regrets? It's $10 for an entire month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. You get UFC Vegas 105, UFC 314, and then you're going to get the Jamal Hill Khalil Roundtree main event card. I keep forgetting where that is. Is that the Des Moines, Iowa one? Is that UFC Des Moines? I'm forgetting where that one is, but that's not an Apex card. And these regional named cards tend to be a ton of fun, and we tend to do pretty well. Unlock all of it right now at WeWantPicks.com. A couple of quick announcements. We do have an app, and if you go to the App Store and search We Want Picks, you can download the app. The app is for everybody, not just premium members. And here's an actual real-life example. Last night, UFC Mexico, a couple of hours before the event, Joe Pyfer's dumbass was sick and he pulled out. That weak loser pulled out of that fight a couple hours before it. He went from saying, this is the healthiest I've ever been, to like, I'm actually not healthy at all. I'm not healthy. I can't fight. And we did a push notification to every single one, I think 5,000 of you, I forget how many, a shit ton of you have downloaded the app, so thank you. And every single person got a push notification. If you're a premium member, you'll get push notifications about bets. If you're not a premium member, every single person who has the app will get important push notifications like, hey, this fight was just canceled. Check your lineups, check your bets, make some adjustments. Things just changed. So download the app. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. A couple of content updates. We have more than just this video on this channel. This video, the Lock of the Week video on our Tuesday live stream, are our, there you go, our 3 tentpole videos, right? These are the 3 biggest videos on the channel. We have other videos that take a lot of time and effort, and they're wildly entertaining. I have a video or a show called Bad Takes with Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson, if you don't know who he is, former world champion, the only person to knock out Nate Diaz, head kicked that fool into oblivion. Josh Thompson, at one point in time, was the best lightweight on planet Earth. When the UFC didn't have a lightweight division, they got rid of it. Him and I give you our bad takes on different topics. The latest one is about Dana White leaving the UFC. He just put the question out there. He said, or somebody asked him, are you leaving, with everything going on with boxing, with everything going on in Slap Fight, you're on the meta board, you're friends with the president, with all this stuff going on, are you leaving the UFC? And his answer was, we're going to find out this year who can take over. So yes, I'm going to leave, and we're figuring out what the next steps are. So we talk about that. We talk about, should he leave? I actually think he should, but not for I can't stand him reasons. Just watch the video and I'll explain. Jakey Boy has a full card breakdown he does in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. And it's not just sitting there, just a talking head like this guy wins next. This guy. No, he's got keys to victory for both fighters, talks about it and moves on. So anybody who bitches about the length of the Angie rant videos, go watch that, shut your mouth. And then Jakey Boy has the prop hunting video, where on Fridays, he will sit there like Steve Irwin and go hunting for prop bets. It's a free video. It's not premium bets. What it is, hey, these are some prop bets that could hit, and here's why they could hit. Let's take a look. You guys love your props. You love your long tail parlays. You're getting all the things. Check out this new content. And in order to make room for that content, we moved other content, like the Prize Picks videos and the Underdog videos. I think both Prize Picks and Underdog hit last night at UFC Mexico. Both of those videos are now on our second channel. We have a second channel with 11,000 subscribers. It's called Picks Nation. Not only do we have these 2 videos, the individual fight videos are there, and we're experimenting with new content there before we move it here. Subscribe over there. Check out some of that content. And if you're looking for the Prize Picks video, that's where it went. And we moved it because that's a hyper-specific video, like a very, very specific video. So we moved it there because we're trying to bring the more generalized, fun, good time videos here. Finally, here's the address if you want to send something for the vlog. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. And the last, finally, Hayabusa is a big partner of ours. We love Hayabusa. Not only do they support the show, but I have been a Hayabusa customer for years, 15 years, long before this show existed, because I've been training jiu-jitsu and combat sports, most of my life. And then I started managing fighters. When I started managing fighters, I was building real relationships with products and brands. Nick Newell's a fighter that I managed. Nick Newell, the one-armed fighter that fought Justin Gaethje in the World Series of Fighting when he was undefeated. Nick Newell, they made a movie about him. I'm looking at the DVD right in front of me. I managed him for a while. Hayabusa was one of his sponsors. And Hayabusa sent a bunch of gear. And at this point in time, I hadn't really used a ton of Hayabusa gear. Used some Rev gear, used some other brands. And they sent a bunch of gear, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff is nice as shit. And I have been using it ever since. Hayabusa is a partner of ours. They support us. You should support them. It's that simple. They've got brand new gloves. The thing is, they are the premium brand. They're not an Amazon brand. It's not cheap knockoff stuff. Hayabusa is the premium brand. It's expensive shit, but it's very, very, very high quality stuff that is engineered for success. It's not just a cool logo slapped on something and sent out the door. If you do want to check out their products, I do no gi grappling, so I use their mid-thigh shorts, which I love. I do have a gi. I can't stand it, but I do have their gis. I can't stand, not that it's their gi, I just can't stand fucking gi jiu-jitsu, the bathrobe. And I've got some of their boxing gloves. We'll do an unboxing in the vlog, but they just have brand new gloves. I can't express enough how high quality this shit is. Support them. If you go to our link, you'll get a discount. If you want it, great. If you don't, that's fine. Just support them. They support us. And if we're not supporting people who support us, what the hell are we doing in this world? Check them out. WeWantPicks.com/Hayabusa. Let's go ahead and break down this main card. And opening up the UFC Vegas 105 main card, we have everybody's favorite Contender Series alumni, Torrez Finney. And he's taking on Robert Valentin. And this is going to be a fun fight. Both of these guys are exciting fighters. Both of them. They're physically very different, but they are both exciting guys. We'll start on the Robert Valentin side. He's a creative striker. He plots forward. He's got those low hands, plenty of spinning techniques, does all sorts of wild shit. He's powerful. He's willing to exchange, and he's very hittable. He doesn't go to his takedowns very often, but he does have them in his back pocket. In fact, a takedown is what got him one of the coolest wins in the Ultimate Fighter history. He was cracked. He was wobbled. He threw a head quick, and that somehow turned into a key lock. It was with his legs. Unbelievable exchange, and it just shows you how fun, how creative, and how doggy Robert Valentin can be. He is, however, coming off that loss on the Ultimate Fighter finale, where he showcased some decent scramble skills, but ultimately he was taken down and crucifixed by Ryan Loder. He's taking on Torrez Finney, one of the most famous guys the Contender Series has created. And I'm not talking about like famous Contender Series fighters like Bo Nickel, right? He went into that famous. Or people like Sean O'Malley, who got famous after leaving the Contender Series. Torrez Finney is somebody that got famous on the Contender Series. You didn't know who he was before, and this is his first fight after, and he's famous. And that's because the dude had 3 fights on the Contender Series. He's physically very different, so memorable. And he had 3 fights on the Contender Series. And he finally got his UFC call-up. Style-wise, solid wrestler. Good speed, good power. He shoots a mean blast double where he runs through you, pounds away on top. The striking's not very good, and that's because he's got those T-Rex arms. But he can get some actual wrestling going. Torrez Finney is a manlet. And a manlet is not an offensive term. If you Google manlet, it says somebody of below average height with a muscular build. If that's not what we're looking at, if this isn't a below average height gentleman with a muscular build, what the hell are we looking at? He might be the scariest below average gentleman with a muscular build we've ever seen. He's a jacked version of that dude. Have you seen that Men's Warehouse video where a couple of those guys are going to get their suits from? I assume for a wedding. And then the tailor does the measuring, and then he pulls out a child suit and he hands it to him. Torrez Finney is a jacked version of that dude. That's an all-time video. Just boys being boys. The bros hanging out, having a good time, and having the ability to laugh at themselves and laugh at each other. I love that video. It brings me joy. Torrez Finney is that dude just jacked as shit. Torrez cannot control his height. That's what God gave him. What he can control, though, is what he does with his vertical challenge. And what he did was get jacked as hell and in phenomenal shape. And when I say phenomenal shape, I don't mean like round. I mean cardio. Torrez Finney can set an incredible pace, continue wrestling despite carrying all of that muscle mass. I think Torrez wins here. Robert is not a bum on the ground, but I honestly think Torrez having no neck whatsoever, really short arms, I think that just makes things far more complicated for Robert. What do you do? Armbar? His arms are this long. How are you going to armbar him? You're going to choke him out? Good luck. You can't even find the neck. I think Torrez Finney is going to win this fight. And yes, Robert Valentin was taken down in his last fight, but that was a D1 All-American wrestler who doesn't need a high chair. Torrez is going to be the pick. I do wish these odds were a little bit closer because we have seen Robert be an absolute dog. Here's a look. Here's the Men's Warehouse guy. You know what I'm talking about. This would be Torrez Finney if he didn't hit the gym. And here's the big reveal. This video is one of my favorite videos. Here we go. He's chilling. All right, yeah, let's see this suit. I'm going to be looking good. Bang, here's your suit, boy. And they all have a great laugh. And that is Torrez Finney. You can see, you got a height chart here on the right-hand side. The reality is, dude's a great fighter. And the fact that, yeah, he's not the tallest dude in the world, but he has unbelievable muscle mass and cardio is the most impressive thing. The cardio with that muscle mass is wildly impressive. Good for Torrez Finney. Hopefully, he gets this done because he's the exact type of guy that you could have a lot of fun with, have a lot of marketing success with. He's dangerous. He's scary. Also seems to have a great personality. I am on the Torrez side. I love the dude. And I love when you can build authentic personalities out of nowhere. The UFC isn't forcing Torrez on people. The UFC didn't try to make something happen. They didn't try to convince you of anything. Dude just shows up, makes it happen, continues coming forward. Pretty cool on the microphone. Like, I'm rooting for this guy, and I hope that he finds a good amount of success here and builds himself a nice little career. Then we have Brad Tavares taking on Gerald Meerschaert in a battle of the olds. We got two 37-year-olds that have been sort of back and forth lately. Not full-blown struggle street, but, I mean, Brad's only 1-4 in his last 5, but he's fighting a very high level of competition. Gerald Meerschaert, honestly getting smoked by everybody. Maybe he can pull off a submission to win. Maybe he can't. Brad Tavares, tried and true at this point. 185-pounder. He's been around forever. He's fought everybody. His record in the UFC is 15-10. And you might think that's a terrible record, but he has fought literally almost every single current and former world champion you can imagine at this weight class. He's a solid striker, good takedown defense at 80%. He's got that Hawaiian fighting spirit. He's not very dangerous anymore at this point in his career, but he is very durable, very well-rounded. Even though he's 37 years old, for middleweight is not that bad. His actual fight age he's probably 45. He's been in some wars. He has been beat up. He's been doing some beating up. Like, he's just been in there for a very, very long time, and he's starting to decline. He can still hang with most, though. He's coming off that decision loss to Jun Young Park, where he looked great early. He was probably on his way to finish, and then he did fade. He's taking on Gerald Mustache Meerschaert. He's a very good grappler. He's always live for a submission, but he sucks on the feet. People question his chin, but he is actually pretty tough, and he's never going to quit on himself. His chin might give out on him, but he's not going to quit. He's an incredibly talented grappler, but like so many others, he does not have good enough wrestling to force a fight to the ground. We have seen as of late, he's worked in some nice takedowns, but the reality is, for the most part, he's tough. He'll try to gut it out. He's going to get hit like shit on the feet, and if you take him down, you could be in some trouble. We did just watch him get absolutely mollywopped by Renier de Reder, and I'm exaggerating because that was actually a somewhat competitive fight with a lot of grappling exchanges and some weird grappling exchanges too. Renier was making some weird decisions in that fight, but he ended up getting submitted in the third round. Every Gerald Meerschaert fight is exactly the same. He goes in there, gets his ass kicked, and then now we have some differences. Sometimes he'll survive the ass kicking. The fight will end up on the ground and win by submission. Other times, the ass kicking just continues. That's every Meerschaert fight. The first half of every Meerschaert fight is the same. Gets his ass kicked. I think the difference here is Brad Tavares has actual fight IQ. He's been in there with everybody. Everybody. And when Brad Tavares loses, he loses to the better fighter. He doesn't lose because he did something stupid. And something stupid here would be taking Gerald Meerschaert down. In Gerald's last win, he was getting his ass kicked. That gentleman chose to get the fight to the ground, and then Gerald Meerschaert submitted him. Brad Tavares isn't going to do that. The problem is, Brad Tavares is minus 270. And while I'm pretty confident in him to get it done, those odds seem pretty crazy for a dude whose only win in the last 3 years was a decision over Chris Weidman, who was coming back after his leg exploded. A win inside the distance decision, no action, might be a Meerschaert play here. I don't think Brad's as tough as he used to be, and maybe we'll get some plus money on that. You can't just outright pick and bet on Gerald Meerschaert. Brad Tavares is going to be the pick. This actually could be an entertaining fight, though. Then we have Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Martin Buday. Kennedy Nzechukwu, long, powerful guy, solid takedown defense. He's never out of a fight. We talk about this every single time. He started his career a bunch of fights in a row where he was getting smoked, bang, turned it around, got it done. But one of them was over Carlos Ulberg, who was piecing this dude up. And then Kennedy made it happen with a big, powerful strike. He can be gun shy at time, which is how he even is losing those fights and why he's even forced to come back. But when he does throw, he throws with intent. He's very powerful. Typically a durable guy, somewhat unreliable though because of that low volume and the lack of commitment. He's coming off that knockout win over Lucas Bresky. He's taking on Martin Buday. Martin Buday can be a powerful striker himself. He's got some heavy hands. He has 11 stoppage wins. He's got solid footwork. He throws everything with intent. He averages almost 5 significant strikes landed per minute, but he is hittable himself, and he can be a slow starter. He's coming off that uneventful win over Andrei Arlovsky, where a lot of people felt like Martin lost. And this is a surprisingly tough fight to break down. If you look at the odds, you would think this is the easiest fight in the world, but it's not. Neither of these guys are reliable, and both have had flashes of brilliance. We've seen the power from Kennedy, but also his willingness to not engage. We've seen the power from Martin, but also his willingness to not engage. This could be fireworks or this could be a slug fight. I wanted to pick Martin. I came into this, I was like, I think I'm going to go Martin Buday here. Oh, he got smoked by what? Shamil? Okay. Big deal. Like, other than that, he's looked pretty good. Then I went back, I rewatched that Arlovsky fight. And if you can't outwork a 45, and this isn't an exaggeration, I'm pretty sure Andre was 44. Maybe he was 45 in that fight. Like, that's well beyond a Vince Pichel 42. I don't imagine you're going to outwork a much taller, much more powerful Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kennedy is the pick. Maybe a prop bet here to get some better value. Minus 325 seems tough, dude. The odds on this card are tricky. This is... UFC Mexico actually felt solid, and the odds didn't get absurd till the end of the week. And if you wait that long, that's on you. If you're a premium member and you have the app, you get push notifications the very second we place bets. So you won't lose out on that line movement. You will get some closing line value because while you're taking your shit, while you're watching your OnlyFans video, I will interrupt your session with a push notification on your phone. Angelo just placed this bet. And right when you're about to, you're going to get that notification. It's probably going to screw you up. But hey, that's the reality of it. And then you could either stop what you're doing, wash your hands, and then place that bet, or just swipe away, finish what you're doing, and then decide if you want to place that bet or not with a clear mind. And if you wait till the end of the week, you might lose out on a lot of those odds. The odds on this card are kind of cooked, but we'll see what happens when props drop. If you're not a premium member, come on. It's fucking 10. Dude, it's $10. If you're complaining about the price point, how do you have internet to watch this video? How do you afford internet to watch this video if you're complaining about the $10 a month? Nuts. Then we have Cortavius Romeus taking on Chang Ho Lee. Cortavius Romeus is a solid grappler, decent striking. He's got good power. He's got heavy kicks. He doesn't throw well in combinations, but he does throw hard and he does move forward. His takedowns are solid. He does a really good job shooting and then re-shooting. When it hits the ground, he's going to land some strikes, look for an actual submission instead of control. He is coming off that decision loss to Gaston Bolanos in his UFC debut, where he got 4 takedowns, but ultimately was outstruck by what looks like and sounds like a Disney character. He's taking on Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee is a well-rounded guy who proves that forward pressure can just be enough because he prefers to just move forward in just pressure style. Sometimes it's empty pressure. Sometimes he's bombing away. He'll close that distance by literally marching forward. I can't expect this dude's just going to come forward like a conveyor belt. There's no backing him up. He moves forward. He throws 1-2s. He feints a lot, which could get some people out of sorts, but he likes to come up heavy with the overhands. He'll even work in a takedown or two. His takedowns are not very good. Neither is his takedown defense, but he's got solid submission defense and an okay get-up game. He thinks very highly of himself. In an interview, he said, "I want to be the Korean Khabib," despite being hittable and his wrestling not being that very good. And I am going to go with the dog here. I'm going to go ahead and pick Cortavius. Chang is not very good, and even though he's claiming to be the Korean Khabib, we heard a similar story from Anshul Jubilee just a few months ago. And how did that work out? The cluelessness, the people skipping ahead. I'm already the best. No, do what you got to do now. Get a couple of decent wins at this level before you try to establish yourself as an all-time great. Romeus hasn't quite proven to be a UFC caliber guy just yet, but at plus 150, we might get some solid odds on prop bets like the point spread at plus 3.5 or win inside the distance decision, no action. I have not seen anything from Chang Ho Lee to tell me that he'd be a 2-1 favorite here. I haven't seen it. What I have seen from Cortavius, though, is solid grappling, decent striking, a tough guy, good leg kicks, a nice well-rounded game. He's small, which is maybe the problem here. But I think Cortavius can get it done. And the forward pressure from Chang may just allow Cortavius to lower his level. Boom, takedown. You came to me. I don't have to come to you. I don't have to worry about the height difference, the range, the reach. I can just lower my level and shoot because you're just walking forward with empty pressure. Cortavius is the pick. Then we have our co-main event of the evening. We have Pat Sabatini taking on Joanderson Brito. This is a tricky fight. This fight has trap written all over it, but it is a fun fight, and this is a solid co-main event for an Apex card. Joanderson Brito is a fast, athletic grappler. He's got solid tap pressure, a wide array of submissions. His striking is not technical, but he will come forward, and he will absolutely bomb away. Huge wide punches from his hips, heavy kicks, almost no regard for what comes back his way. Even though he is comfortable striking, he will look to get it to the ground, and he will work from there. He averages more than 3 takedowns per fight, but he can be taken down himself if you pressure him. He's coming off that close loss to William Gomez, where he was chasing the knockout, and he had the bigger moments. Listen, I thought he won that fight, but it is what it is. He's taking on Patrick Sabatini. Pat Sabatini is a dangerous grappler, very good wrestling, good solid top pressure. His grappling is incredible. He's always live for a mission. He's got some technical striking, but he is stiff, he is hittable, and I have to say he is chinny. And when your losses are knockouts, that's just the reality of the situation. He averages almost 4 takedowns per fight and only 2 significant strikes. He averages 1.94 significant strikes landed per fight. And that tells you everything you need to know. Data matters. And that tells you he's going to come forward and look to grapple almost immediately and not strike. And even on the ground, he's not striking, he's grappling. He's coming off that quick submission win over Jonathan Pierce. And I mentioned this fight has trap written all over it. Joe Anderson has a ton of power. He's got plenty of knockouts. And Pat's 2 UFC losses have been by knockout. And I get on the surface. There we go. Makes sense. Last week for UFC Mexico, all I literally just kept saying, 1 + 1 = 2. Jamal Emmers has power. Gabriel Fly has no chin. Jamal Emmers is going to knock out Gabriel Fly. 1 + 1 = 2. You could do the exact same formula here. Joe Anderson has power. Pat doesn't have a chin. Joe Anderson's going to knock out Pat. You can do that same formula here, but I don't recommend it. On the surface, it makes sense, but what's missing from that equation, and what's missing is the fact that Brito's BJJ off of his back sucks, and Pat Sabatini is phenomenal on top. I think the safest fight here, or bet here, on this fight is that it does not go the distance. Brito could 100% knock out Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini could absolutely submit Brito. I don't see a decision here. I'm going to pick Brito because we saw some cardio improvements in that last fight. Yes, Gomez was able to steal a decision, but Joe Anderson for 15 full minutes was like, rah, 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 just bombing away. So I'm going to pick Brito. And maybe he's going to land clean, and that'll be the end of it. Or maybe he plants his feet, overcommits, gets taken down, and put in a lot of trouble early. Either way, does not go the distance is probably going to be my bet here. I'm going to pick Brito, but this feels like a trap. This feels like see that shit-eating grin Pat Sabatini's got going on there? That's like, I'm going to fuck your parlay up. I'm going to fuck your parlay up. So Pat's a very good fighter. Pat is a good fighter. And as long as he doesn't get clipped with one of the most powerful punchers in the division, he could sneak this out as a 2-1 dog. Then we have our main event of the evening. We have Bridge Troll Josh Emmett taking on Lerone Murphy. Josh Emmett is a wrestler. He is a wrestler. We're going to have to change that categorization soon, but he is a wrestler. He's got legit power in his hands. He has 12 knockdowns in 14 UFC fights. That includes the losses. And you'll see he averages almost 1 takedown per fight, but that is deceiving because 8 of his 11 takedowns came from 1 fight alone. So the reality is Josh Emmett is an accomplished wrestler before his UFC career who doesn't use his wrestling because he's got good speed, great power in his hands, and he just wants to head in that direction. He's coming off that 1-punch knockout win over Bryce Mitchell to get back in the win column. He's taking on Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy's a good striker. He moves incredibly well. He's got some power on his side. He'll light up your body. He'll step completely out of the pocket, move away, reset, get his footwork going, touch you back up. He's dangerous on the feet. His takedown defense is listed as a pretty low 48%, but he does really well scrambling back up. He's coming off that scary win over Dan Ige where he was dropped early, but he stayed composed and he took over. And Lerone Murphy was in the safety parlay against Dan Ige. So you can imagine the stress that I was feeling when he was dropped. The good news is he recovered well. He went on to win that fight. And this fight could be almost exactly the same, where Josh Emmett has some early success, but Lerone hangs tough. He takes over. And I think Lerone is the overall better fighter. He's faster, he's more technical, he's cleaner. The issue, though, is he is not necessarily as dangerous. So we're going to have Lerone Murphy fight a perfect fight for 25 full minutes. I think he can do that. I am on the Lerone side. 3-1 favorite. Again, these odds start to seem a little crazy. What could go wrong with an undefeated guy fighting an aging vet? We haven't seen this matchup yet in 2025. I am going to pick Lerone Murphy. The danger on the Josh Emmett side scares me when we just saw Lerone get sat down by Dan Ige. Lerone Murphy's the pick. Maybe it's his second main event win. We'll see what happens. Guys, that is the breakdown. Do me a favor. Go to WeWantPicks.com and become a premium member. Go to the App Store and download the app. Do the things. Support us. Support your boys. The app is 100% free, and it is literally for everybody. Premium or otherwise. You're going to get push notifications no matter what. And you can use those notifications any way that you choose. You can fade the bets. You can place the bets. You can get a heads up when fights drop in the last minute like they did a couple of pay-per-views ago, like they did last night at UFC Mexico. Unlock all of the picks and all the bets and all the tools at WeWantPicks.com, including the brand new DraftKings optimizer, including the fight simulator that simulates fights 100,000 times, including the data analyzer. If you are a research guy, if you are a data nerd, we've got the tool for you. You want to do tape study? The $10 a month alone is worth it from saving you searching the shitty... Fight Pass is the shittiest thing in the world. It saves you from searching Fight Pass for the fights. You don't have to search ESPN Plus for the fights. You're not on YouTube scrounging for scraps. Go to the data analyzer. Do whatever event you want to do because this is built out for the future. Click on the fighter, and on that chart at the bottom, click any one of those plot points, and that fight will pop up, and you can watch that tape. You'll unlock the line movement tracker. This is a tool that gives you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You'll have access to the Prop Hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You will have access to everybody at We Want Picks, not just me, not just Jakey Boy, but Bet Sam, who's been on quite of a tear lately. Artem, who is picking regional cards as well as UFC, and he is dominating those regional cards. The last regional card he broke down was Cage Warriors. He literally picked a perfect card. He picked 8 fights, all 8 of them won. And winning money on regional MMA is the same money as UFC. Artem, I believe, is going to do a full PFL write-up for premium members. So check out his stuff. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. And finally, you want 50, we'll send you 50. Use the links. Guys, I appreciate every last one of you. UFC Mexico was a wild success, and I felt the love, so I appreciate you. Hopefully you appreciate us. Go to the website, do the things. Good luck this weekend. Good luck at UFC 314. I genuinely appreciate every last one of you.